Right will have all the affection. You will feel mother the same way. I say again here. I have said many times, maternity is not an exercise of biology only, but it is much more the commitment you establish with that creature when you bring to within your home and will fill your life with love. Your husband's life, who also, by loving you, will know how to understand your limits, because everyone who loves understands the limits. I recalled that before the big change in São Paulo's life, before the great conversion of São Paulo, he had to fall off his horse. And falling off the horse meant in the life of St. Paul the watershed, before and after, the human being he was and the human being he became. That experience of falling, of coming to the ground, that's interesting, right? When we die, we go to the floor. We are a seed again. That's why we believe that death is just an experience of passage. Because we are born to a new life. We are sown in the ground from which we came from. But in the fall of São Paulo, he did not live the experience of being buried in his physique, in his matter, but he was buried in his old way of life. Fall on earth, touch the ground, and raised different. The same way when I was ordered. This is interesting. At the time of ordination, I lived it with great conscience. As I lie down, I lay down with water. As I got up priest. The experience of you being transformed into the touch of the floor. What is it to play the floor? It is touching human experience as it is. Things that suddenly fall into oblivion because of the hurry we live, because of the way we lead our lives. Sometimes God needs to take a fall on us, isn't it? Or not God who takes the fall. He takes advantage of the fall that we took us to teach us something. But the big challenge is to make the fall experience a moment of fresh start. We are going to make the drop experience a beautiful experience of you rediscovering something within you that was already forgotten until then. Some things that are getting inside our hearts and suddenly we stop accessing. You may not have either the horse or the plane, but it may be that at some point in your life you have experienced the risk of you almost losing the life you have. Delivery experience, we say. When I was free from death. When I managed to survive the attack on death. To the danger of death. Or, if it was not a physical danger, the numerous dangers we have spent throughout our lives. When we are almost challenged to bring out what we have stronger for us to survive. That moment when we are betrayed. That moment when we are deceived. When things do not go the way we should go. And we have that feeling that we fall. When we are deceived, for example, when we are betrayed, we have a feeling that we are on the floor. How many times, right, do you use this expression yourself? Stop. I'm on the floor. The experience of you seeing a world fall is on the floor. But you see, the floor is a beautiful place to start life. If you want tasty fruits, you have to throw the seed on the ground. It's not enough to look at the seed and saying that beautiful tree you will be. It is no use you keep the seed, admiring it, if you do not make the process of death the soil brings. And sometimes in the falls we suffer in our lives, it is an ideal time for us to raise new. Because this fright, this possibility of losing our lives, seems to have the power to wake us up. To look at the children we have, our greatest riches, what is truly worth living. To the point of transforming our perspectives, my people. And that's what needs to happen to us every day. The conversion process is the process of returning to the floor, where I throw my seeds. Today, I want to take the pain I have inside myself. I want to throw in the seed of my conversion, on the floor of my conversion. And I want it to be modified. That this is transformed into fruit. That it is transformed into wisdom. Suffering cannot be in vain, no. An event like this cannot be in vain. We need to extract from it as much learning so that we get out more alive, more resurrected, more cohesive, stronger. Because this is God's proposal for us. Find out the moment you have fallen, and there you will find the reasons for your improvement, which will be the instrumental of your transformation as a person. A fall, moment of difficulty, opening our horizons for us. Maybe contemplate the world in a way. I make your prayer request. Can you be going through such an experience today? I'm on the floor, priest. Today I would need a word. Today I need a prayer. Today I need someone who helps me to live. Thank you. It is linked to us, and it is a huge pleasure once again. We are here entering your house, inviting you to spend this time with us and find out here in what happens, what we say, something that can do our hearts well. So good in life, we can find people, right? I speak only of the meeting that sometimes happens, falling, not really finding it. When we have that feeling that we are accompanied, like this, not always having someone on the side is to ensure that they are following. Being accompanied is much more than that. It is us to have the opportunity to recognize that the other diminishes our loneliness. Why? Because it is able to understand us. It is able to establish with us communion, to feel together, to think together, to make the word a road through which we enter the other and allows the other to enter us. Life teaches us this, that sometimes for me to understand a defect I have, I need someone by my side loving me, because the other's love is a light that does not burn. When it shows the defect that Wade has, instead of burning and hurting us just as these reflectors do with our skin, if we do not be careful, love is a light that makes us perceive the dirt of the glass. Right? It's like you have a glass that you approach light. The closer you bring the glass to light, the more you realize the imperfections it has. Jesus was able to do this. It had a light so that the person could see without fear the defects, limits, imperfections. And that is why it is important in life for us to establish communion. This is why it is important to go to church, so that all this happens to us, so that we have friends, so that we establish bonds, and bonds that can help us grow. Because otherwise we will cultivate infertile bonds all their lives, right? That generates nothing. These are the meetings. You can find a lot of people. Today I found many people. But what meeting did the echo within my existence? What were the people that today represented a human growth space for me? Because otherwise I bump into everyone. And everything will depend, my people, the way we have to this meeting. Life gives us all of the time. I find the bus driver. I find the bus collector. I find the electrician who takes care of my house. I find the person who works at the same reception as me. I find person who will travel by my side. Now, what am I going to do with this opportunity? Will you go through my decision? Do you go through yours? Every time we have the opportunity to make a meeting that makes us grow, which makes us better. It's great. It's wonderful. We have spoken here so many times how good it is to learn. Suddenly you find a person who has a knowledge that you do not have. And that person gives you, at that time of meeting, the opportunity for you to overcome. For example, states of ignorance. This is too interesting, my people, when life gives us these opportunities. When the meeting really happens, something is transformed. We change a point of view, right? It is good to be changed for the better. It's good when we find out that we are aware of it. Today I want to find people. I don't want to miss the opportunity for the meeting. But I really want to find it. I want to find to do well. For this we are friends. For this we are families. And for that we meet. Casuality, right? So many meetings that you did not expect for them. And suddenly you are there with that person, allowing yourself to be affected by them. Allowing the other to grant you wisdom. Or sometimes, my people, not even to reach any answer. It's just to divide the weight of the moment. Because sometimes the other doesn't have the answer we need. But it can suddenly be a moment where we untie the uniforms, the bales that weigh us so much, that we take the boot, which we feel comfortable. We need it. You need this. Your quality of life passes for the quality of your meetings. And then, suddenly, you can come to the conclusion that you are not finding as you should. Modify. So the meeting, he awakens me to act better, to live better, to think better. Valesca Ribeiro said she did every form. All kinds of treatment so she could get pregnant but can't. And she is suffering a great conflict, because not pregnant is generating a kind of humiliation for her, as if it were a failure as a woman. She is saying here, Father Fábio, I am devastated, humiliated. I feel a very deep sadness in my soul. How to believe in God's love as my Father? What to do with this pain? I can't even describe what I feel, what's going on with me. And just my husband, who has no problem, is deprived of having children because of my problem, because of my disease. We registered for adoption, but it is very time-consuming and becomes torturous. Valesca, my daughter. First thing, we have to understand that our nature has limits. By the way, that's why we are creatures. This is a definition of anthropology. Every creature is naturally endowed with boundaries. So my body has limits, your body has limits. And unfortunately, you have this limit. You can't fertilize a life, generate this life within you. My daughter, all this wear that you are living, insisting, and already knowing that it will be impossible. You need to finish immediately. First, you need to stop feeling guilty. Our body has limits. Yours has this. You don't have to feel worse than anyone because of this limit. There are people who have the limit of cancer, for example. There are people who have an intellectual limit. There are people who have difficulty understanding. Everything is limit, isn't it? There are people who have difficulty walking. We don't have to feel guilty because we have limits. You, in your case, you need to immediately eliminate all these attempts to get pregnant because it will generate such a great tension in the woman's life, my people. It may not be your case, Alaska, that you have already come to a conclusion that there is a very serious problem that will make it impossible. There are many women, for example, who have no problem and don't get pregnant. And they try and do everything for pregnancy to happen. And what happens? The tension and the need to overcome the limit turns into the main obstacle for fertilization to take place. So much so that there are many women who, after relaxing, who take this story of pregnancy, the get pregnancy. Why? Because they lost their anxiety. Funny. But in life, it's like that. When we want so much, sometimes it doesn't happen. When you even forgot that, it's equal to problem, right? Sometimes we keep maturing so much. My God from heaven. How am I going to solve this? How am I going to solve this? The more we insist on our mind, the lower our ability to find a solution. Then, suddenly, you relax. Forget about it. And have an insight, right? I will use a word of psychology. Then you have that rehearsal. My God in heaven. It is so simple to solve. Then go there. Build a solution. Why? Because our brain, which commands everything, when it suffers this pressure, it ends up blocking a lot of body functioning, because it is directly linked to it. It's amazing how much our head commands everything. There's no way. It commands the functioning of our body, goes through our mental health. But sometimes we press our brain for information and we don't have it. Then you forget that suddenly the name comes and the memory recovers that information that was lost and was not recovered precisely because of the insistence. Valesca. Don't feel guilty, my daughter. You can't get pregnant. Okay, let's resolve. Let's turn this page of your life, and we will try to forward a very noble adoption process and make sure a child adopted in the way.
As we conclude this spiritual exploration on Path of Faith, we invite you to engage with us by leaving your comments, liking this video, sharing it with others, and subscribing to our channel for regular doses of uplifting messages.